Welcome back to the Respect the Drive podcast. I'm Tom, or Tedward, however you'd like to call me. And this is kind of a proof of life episode. It's just me. We're just hanging out. I'm at Garage 42 in the studio, which is always a treat. I like it here. It's a good spot. And I'm looking out over a sea of cars. I can see my car, actually my 88 911 Carrera, which I'm excited about. The Lexus GX 460 is properly laid up right now because that should be just like the winter and yucky weather or off-roady thing for when the more exciting cars aren't really appropriate, or I don't want them to rust. Meanwhile, I have sent down the 911 to Donnelly Racing Services. He came and towed it away from Garage 42, which is one of the nice features about having a storage place like this. Pardon the integrated advertising, but this was actually quite convenient. He came up, worked with Josh at Garage 42, towed the car down to Connecticut to his shop, did fluids, did a couple things for service, and made sure that the car was like safe for me. One of the big reasons I haven't been driving my 911 is because I once filled the fuel tank and then got a couple little drips in my driveway after I drove home, maybe another mile or so. And I started freaking out that maybe the fuel system was leaking. But Diggy Donnelly, he went down, he pressurized the fuel tank and made sure that, there's no actual leaks because I couldn't find any. And it turns out there's probably some ball valve that maybe was a little stuck. Just a fluke thing, fingers crossed. But when there's issues with like brakes, steering, or fuel, these are things that you really want to address. Those are things that you just don't want to let go and allow to potentially ruin your day or your car or make you look like an idiot when your car burns to the ground and everyone asks you like, oh my goodness, were there any signs? And you're like, oh yeah, no, it was leaking fuel. And they're like, why did you drive it? So, better safe than sorry, but I'm not somebody who wants to just put 4 or 5 fire extinguishers in the car and hope for the best, because that doesn't always work. And you know what? Sometimes things can happen. Sometimes there are fluke events. Sometimes the line does just let go, but do your due diligence, send it to a reputable shop, make sure that people are seeing it. But I really appreciate Garage 42 for organizing all of that service to go in, go out. They're sending me pictures of the car going on a trailer. It's nice when you're not consumed by worry, and when the job can just get done without you. You don't have to go to the shop, and that happens. You don't have to have a Porsche race shop do your thing. If you had a Ferrari and it needs to go down to a particular shop, they'll organize that, because Garage 42 has their own tow truck as well. It's covered. It'll get there clean and nice. And that's the deal. So if you are looking for this kind of experience, concierge service for your cars, it's nice because car ownership is more than just paying the insurance and the registration and for the car. I mean, it can be a big hassle when you have special things that do kind of sit for a lot of the year or require special services from special people, and you just don't have the time because you're earning all the damn money to get the thing. But the car industry is in a bizarre state right now. We're starting to see things that we like, that we don't like. Unfortunately, it's more that we don't like. And I'm 38, so I'm getting of an age where it's very possible that I can start my reign as the angry old man on his lawn, shouting at the kids, shouting at the clouds. It doesn't feel like that. And maybe that's because I'm the person doing it, but it does feel as though I'm right, especially when it comes to cars like the Ferrari Luce, which doesn't outperform any of the competition in performance. It's not faster than anybody. It doesn't handle better than anybody. It doesn't have better range than anybody. It doesn't charge faster than anybody. It does cost more than everybody at about $640,000, $650,000 before you probably add $100,000 in options. It's a Ferrari after all. So you're looking at a $750,000 to $800,000 EV that was designed by the Apple people, Johnny Ive and Mark Newson. And it broke the internet more than Jaguar did. Jaguar. Sorry, if you're British, I need to add that in for you. Let's open the boot of our Jaguar. So this Ferrari comes on the heels of the Mercedes-AMG GT 4-door launch, which honestly, that car, performance-wise, absolutely bonkers. Style-wise, questionable. I really like parts of that AMG. I think the rear end looks fantastic. I just wish it was like a little narrower. I wish they squeezed those taillights down a little bit. There's just little things. The front of it's very fishy. It does look like it's designed for a Chinese market. It doesn't necessarily look like it belongs in the hands of the typical American EV performance buyer. Not that is there a typical performance EV buyer in America at this point? I don't know. But again, you're looking at a $160,000 car versus the Luce, which is like $650,000. They said that, this is where I get frustrated though, is they said that they've learned from the mistakes of all of the EV launches in the past. And it just seems they haven't, because if you had learned from the mistakes of the past EVs, you would not have put in fake exhaust sounds, because we've already seen that with Dodge. The Challenger had that. It's a Charger. I'm so sorry. I when it's two-door, I want to say Challenger. No, it's a Charger. It's a Charger EV, which makes sense because Charger is very EV in name. But that didn't really work for anybody. We were like, all right, I guess so, but let the car be what it is. Don't try to fool me with V8 noises. I don't like that. And I thought that they obviously learned from it. They had enough time to learn from it to put an inline 6 turbo in it with the Hurricane engine and make it an internal combustion thing. And now we're getting word that they're going to be, of course, bringing out some sort of supercharged Hellcat variant of it. And what is kind of baffling to me is that Mercedes-AMG would not then go back and say, oh, we shouldn't do the silly sounds, because who are we fooling? And also, if you are actually committed to the EV thing and you're committed that this alternative fuel vehicle is great because you designed it, why then fool the customer with the sounds? Why then play that game? So I just feel like no one's really listening to the public or reading the internet. And I know, especially as a YouTuber, the comment section is not a place you want to spend too much time. It can be ugly. It can be silly. It can be slightly unrepresentative of what the actual people mean. I mean, you can see this in politics all the time. If you spend your time in one corner of the internet, you might think everybody believes this, but then when it comes to actual polls or voting or whatever, that's not actually the case. And the same probably goes for these car designers, where they're trying to pull things from everywhere. But it just kind of fascinates me when they don't get it on this level. And what more than anything frustrates me is that we have a hard time accepting that sometimes talented, successful people are wrong, and we have to then go and make excuses for them. And the fastest way I always see this is when somebody makes a really bad decision, something so stupid, so colossally stupid that it's so stupid you can't believe how stupid it is. And then instead of being like, hey guys, that was a really poor choice, that was stupid, we say, oh man, they're just so smart. They must be playing 4D chess. They've got there's something up their sleeve. There's another plan. Guys, I hate to break it to you. There's no other plan. Anything that happens after this was happenstance or just risk mitigation or trying to make up for a failure. Sometimes really talented people fail because sometimes really talented people don't check their egos at the door. They accept jobs they shouldn't have accepted. And I think that's what happened with this Ferrari. And I already talked about this in a video. So if you want to watch more about that, go check it. But after the fact, I've seen people talking about how maybe this is some strategy to tank the company so that way it'll change the regulations and prove that no, it's not. It's just not. That's just not the case. It's just simply a failure. Sometimes things are just that simple. And we don't need to then go and try to spin this story of these designers who are, I suppose, looked at as religious figures, where you're like, wait, what do you think he meant by that? And it reminds me of the Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where Frank, Danny DeVito, is playing like an artist, and he walks into this museum and he just starts pointing at everything and going, derivative, derivative, derivative. And it's so funny because of his appearance, because of the air he's trying to put on to look like he's this artist that he must be trusted. But it's like listening to them describe the philosophical and societal paradoxes of the world and this and that. They go on and on and on. And then you're like, it's a banana taped to a wall, right? It's a banana. It's a fucking banana taped to a wall. Pardon my French. But I have a hard time putting these two things together. And I have a hard time thinking that people don't realize that they're being bullshitted. So let's just call it like we see it. It's not pretty. It doesn't perform. It was a bad call. Sometimes people make bad calls. We do not need to spin this into something else. That's all it was. And honestly, it's fine. I like that they took a risk. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. And I mean that like, everyone has that parent who has said that to them. And it's worse. It's worse because it's like, dude, I'm not mad. I just wish you had done better. I just wish you had done your research. I just wish you understood the brand that you were in. Because frankly, if you were a graffiti artist who's very talented and everyone respects your graffiti. Maybe you create the best art anyone's ever seen on an overpass or on a mural on some building, and it's incredible stuff. But if the people in charge of the Sistine Chapel ask you to come and finish the job, they're like, hey, we'd really like to add more to this. It's like, you should have enough experience to check your ego to say, guys, I really appreciate what you're asking from me. And I'm flattered that you think I'm talented, and I'm flattered that you like my work. I am not the correct person for the job. I just am not. And that is something that I wish we would all do more, is understand when it's inappropriate for you to intervene. When should you not take the job? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go and try new things and take some risks, but there are times, like for example, if for whatever reason I was tapped by like Boston city government and they said, we want you to take over Phil Ang's department. You are going to be the new head or chair of public transportation. You're going to run the MBTA in Boston. No. Why do people accept jobs they're just not qualified for? I am not qualified for that job. I should not be there. It's flattering that you think like, wow, he's got an interest in transportation. He likes trains. He likes cars. He likes planes. Nope, I'm not the guy. Phil Ang is the correct guy. By the way, I just have to, I love him. He's fantastic. He is like the only person in Boston's like, decades history that I've been around who has actually made a positive impact on the MBTA. And so we thank him for his service. But I do think that it's very important that when you are tapped for a job that you are not qualified for, you should know enough. And it's on you a little bit. Like, people can ask you for whatever, but if you can't do the job, that's like saying, oh, you love German cars. Come to Germany and be a translator for this American group that's going to come tour Stuttgart. It's like I don't speak enough German to translate for them. I can't do that. I can't speak German to these engineers and then translate it to the American audience. But it doesn't hurt to ask, but it does hurt to accept. We'll put it that way. So that's just my thought process on this whole thing. It's not something that infuriates me. It's Ferrari. They will rebound. They will find their way. I sincerely hope they find their way back to Pininfarina, because that is the true Ferrari vibe. That's the real stuff. But all the Ferrari stuff just goes to show nobody's immune to the EV drain that came from investing maybe a little too much too soon. Or, I mean, really, it was just it's a confusion of regulations. It's a confusion of public perception. It's a confusion of adoption. It's so wild how many external factors played a role in bringing the EV to mass market and then sort of killing it as a viable business case for all these companies, because it's more than just the cars. It's public perception. It's chatter. It's subsidies. And by the way, I don't really think it's a bad thing when the government subsidizes something to make it occur. I mean, that's like literally the only reason anything ever happens. For whatever reason, people decided like they were really mad that subsidies existed for EVs. But anytime you're trying to make any change, like subsidies literally are the only thing that make a thing happen. If you don't have tax breaks on something, it will not happen. That even goes for the entertainment industry. Entire cities get developed into studios, whereas like, if you can't get the tax break in LA, but you can get it in Atlanta, well, guess what? That's where you're filming, baby. That's the deal. So I think the the automakers, the legacy automakers, I think put, not wrongfully, but they put a lot of eggs in the basket of stability. They thought that what was going on is just going to be what's going on. We're going to have these tax credits. The government is going to continue pushing these things. We're going to continue to put money into building infrastructure for charging and this and that. And like, of course, that's going to continue to some extent. But I just think that when the ball started rolling, they thought it was going to be a snowball that could never melt. And it was just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that was what was going to be the market. And that was just not the case. That snowball rolled into a hot spring. And now it's melting. And they had already put all their eggs into these massive factories to build these things. So look, I'm not somebody who is a big EV proponent, but I think they work for a lot of people. And I do, oddly enough, this is one of those rare times where I kind of feel bad for some of these billion-dollar corporations because they were justified in their business cases, I think, personally. I think they were assuming that the world was going to be a little bit stable and that the regulations were going to continue to model what they started and improve upon that model versus just, ripping the rug out from under them. So I don't really blame them, and it's a bummer. And one of the big bummers is I think we're going to lose some cool cars. I think Honda is a great example of this. They got into the EV game by a badge engineering project, essentially bringing the Ultium platform from General Motors, which powers the Lyriq, the Blazer, all these EVs that they're using. And they made the Prologue and the ZDX, which, to their credit, they managed to pull it off a little bit. Unfortunately, I just didn't think I didn't drive the ZDX, but I drove the Prologue, and Honda did a suspension specific to that car, and I just don't think it behaved like a Honda. I mean, you get in it, if you've ever been in the Blazer, you're pretty aware it's a Blazer. Even the dings and chimes and stuff are very GM, which is not a slight to General Motors. It's more just like, man, I bought a Honda, I want a Honda. But I get it. They had to do something. But I was really looking forward to their version of an electric vehicle. I wanted to know what Honda was capable of, because that was just a placeholder. That was just like a regulatory car to get it out there. Because I don't know, I could be wrong here, but I think it was for California. They had to have an EV in their lineup or something. So I'm bummed that we're not going to get the Honda Zero class, but even though they lost billions and billions on that project, they are still slated to release new models around 2030. But that means that cars like the Pilot and the Odyssey and the Civic, I think these cars are going to have to last a little bit longer. Initially, I think people thought, oh my goodness, they're going to have to last for years and years and years. I don't think that's quite the case. But I mean, also, I'm kind of okay with it. I had a press car the other day. It was an Acura MDX Type S. And this is a 3-liter turbo V6, all-wheel drive, super handling all-wheel drive, can send 70% of its power or torque to the rear axle, and then 100% of that 70% to the left or right to torque vector. And it's got a wonderful normal torque converter, automatic transmission, all these things. And it's their flagship. And some could look at that and say, oh, it gets only 22 miles per gallon. It's this, that. But that's a car. That's anyone who's complaining about hybrids or electrification, it's well, they're making this for you. This is actually the kind of last of that breed. And I do have an appreciation for the fact that you can still get into an internal combustion engine with a turbo that's kind of a rocket, not super duper fast, but handles well, is very comfortable, very luxurious, and has a great presence on the road, because not only does it have kind of an old school powertrain, the styling of the exterior isn't the slab-sided plasticky muck that we've been seeing coming out of Mercedes-Benz, for example. No, honestly, I'm not trying to shoot strays here. I'm just trying to say that it is nice to see a car that looks like it's styled by people who like cars, and not simply people who are trying to make some alien futuristic looking thing, or what I think is more likely the case. I think that the design teams are pressured by the manufacturing teams in order to make designs that will have less quality issues in the stamping process and allow their tooling to last for more stamps. So I think that's why we're losing a lot of shapes in the doors, and we're not getting creases. We're not getting any other little accent panels and things like that. I think these things are just going away because they're expensive. It's the same reason on the interiors you're seeing screens everywhere instead of buttons, because screens are cheaper. and people are more likely to accept a disposable appliance in their car now because our whole lives are disposable appliances. Even the phone in your pocket. If it's 2 or 3 years old, you already feel like, man, I've had this a long time. Meanwhile, you probably spent $1,000 on that thing. Could you imagine spending $1,000 on like a Discman in 1999 and thinking like, yeah, I'll keep it till the next one comes out. And then you just throw it away or maybe trade it in or like leave it on your desk forever. That's what happens to my phones. I just leave them on I have like a stack of phones. But the idea of disposable stuff and just going to the next thing is so common to us that as much as people like us as enthusiasts are grumpy old men shouting up the clouds and saying, no, this is just some garbage that's going to be outdated in 2 years. They're like, yeah, shut up, grandpa. They're okay with it. They're just going to go buy the next thing. So I don't know. I mean, it's already difficult to sort of plug into older cars. I mean, if you have like maybe we're going a little weird here, but if you have like an old Ferrari or something, like you need the Leonardo machine to plug into that car to clear the lights or understand what's going on with the car. And if you go even further back, there's like, Rolls Royce, Bentley, and these are difficult cars to read. Sometimes it's very difficult to even just understand how to repair a car because you don't have like the $30,000 rolling computer that a mechanic would have. And now, it's like I think that's a McLaren F1 thing too. I know I'm talking about things that are so relatable. Oh my God, I can't read the computer on my McLaren F1. But there's these machines, there's these computers that you basically have to keep around forever. And it's like your car runs on a floppy disk, but the faster pace of this now means that who knows what everything's going to be running on. Who knows if you're going to be able to buy a car in 10 or 15 years and have it properly serviced because maybe that technology is already like, oh yeah, we don't use that software anymore. You have to go to some specialist, or maybe it just doesn't exist and your car is bricked. What a bummer that would be. But I can say that the new car market has incentivized me to enjoy the cars that I have because I fully understand that I'm not... If I sold that 88 Carrera or my 01 E39 M5, I'd realize that I can't really get back into those. They're pretty expensive now. The market has spoken. These are valuable things. But it also tells me that if these are the experiences that I prefer, I need to start having those experiences, which is why I'm here to pull that 911 out of storage today. So I'm excited. I'm also excited because the Garage 42 team and a lot of the members here are incredibly generous, and they are like, hey, drive my thing. And we have a list, and the list, oh my God, if you guys saw this list, I'm just going to say you'd be pretty jealous. These are cool cars. And I'm going to tell you one car. There's a 512 BBI. I am so excited to drive this car. It's beautiful. It's red. It is like the Ferrari. It looks so good, and it's one of a few Ferraris that we've got here to play with. And the second is there's a Porsche tractor. Yeah. Don't you love it when the Porsche guys go real old school and instead of picking up a Carrera RS, they're like, you know what I need? I need the tractor. It's red, it's beautiful, and I've never driven one and I'm very excited to drive it. I'm nervous to drive it. I need to be taught how to drive it. And I'm not taking it out on the road. We'll just drive it around the parking lot, but I will show you it because I don't think anyone's ever really shown me how to drive one. So I'm excited to come here and do exactly what I think is needed in the auto space, which is just to celebrate the things we actually really like and lust after and stuff that grabs my attention. Because, as much as I absolutely respect the performance aspect of what new car manufacturers are doing, I do think that it's very rare that you feel like a real personal connection to your automobile or that it represents your personality the same way that it used to, if that makes any sense. But here I am, old man yelling at the clouds. That's fine. To be fair, I am also testing lots of new cars. I've got a car a week coming in right now, which I've been having a blast with. And I think it's also critical just for the idea of, if I'm an auto journalist, I need to know what's new, what's the latest and greatest, what I like, what I don't like, what they're hitting right. Because the reality is, as much as I'm showcasing these cars to you as a viewer, where I'm saying, hey, this is a practical thing. You should like this Subaru. Maybe if this is the kind of headspace you're in, this is the car for you. I'm also I'm also speaking to the manufacturer in those videos because I would like to be able to say like, hey, this is a nice infotainment screen, but it's a little laggy and it has the HVAC controls inside of it. And if this ever breaks, I can't change my fan speed or put on my defroster. I don't like that. I want buttons. So as much as that is a message to the potential consumer, it's also a message to the OEMs. And to their credit, they ask us what we think. They really do. I've been on so many new car launches where I go out and drive a car and then we go to a lunch stop and I'm sitting having lunch with an engineer or a lead designer or somebody who actually had influence over the production of the car we're testing. And they ask me what I think. And I always tell them, I really do, because of course I'm courteous and kind about it, because what I never want to, like, somebody made something, you're never going to be mean to them unless what they made is like so like offensive that it deserves a cruel response. But really, if somebody makes something and I just think like, this is a great product, but I know that the next year the product isn't changing because of what I said, but it can influence the ideas that they're going to have for the future. It can influence the idea that like, oh, you know what? Like maybe we should have physical buttons. Maybe this is distracting. Maybe this is hard to reach in a pinch. Maybe this isn't the best way to go. And maybe that money will be spent on improving those aspects of the car. And that's where I feel like, if anything, my influence isn't as an influencer telling consumers to buy things. Sometimes it's influencing the very people that make the cars. And that is where I think we can end today. So thank you guys so much for listening. I know this is just a short one. I just wanted to come on, say hello. There are some great events coming up, especially through Lars Anderson Auto Museum, a place that I am closely affiliated with. In fact, I'm a trustee on the board of the museum. So I'll just give you full disclosure. I like promoting them, but it's also because I've been going there since I was a little kid. But we've got lawn events, whether it's, Mercedes Day, BMW Day, Cadillac Day, Extinct Car Day, Micro Car Day, Tutto Italiano, all the great shows that you know and love from this place. But also there are now some driving events to kind of supplement the Cars and Coffee lawn event. And now you can go on these back roads and brew thing where basically you start at Garage 42 with a group of cars and you drive all of these roads in New England to places you may have already been, but you'll get there in ways you've never imagined. Because instead of taking just the highway up to go to some like cool little craft brewery, no, you'll take all these great little back roads and then, hang out with your buddies at a nice spot with all the cars and enjoy it. And then, take a very responsible drive home. Don't drink and drive. That's not cool. In fact, I just saw a car accident on my way here. It was a Tesla Model 3. It careened into the guardrail on the left, and then the tire marks indicated that he found his way over to the right shoulder, left half the car in the drive lane, in the right lane, and I could see all the airbags went off. I did call 911. I did not stop. I was already kind of past him in a way that I would not have been able to find my way back, so it was not a safe thing to stop. But I did call 911 and report the accident, so hopefully he's okay. But that's what I know. Try to be a good steward. Try not to text and drive. God, that's probably what's plaguing us the most right now. People, wrong way drivers, drinking and driving. A lot of people hitting those THC vape pens. It's not helping you, man. It's not helping. Maybe at night, but it's not helping you drive a car. So one thing that my friend Corey mentioned to me the other day, she goes, hey, when you look at a medication commercial and they say like, do not operate heavy machinery? I said, yeah. She goes, they mean cars? And I was like, oh, I always thought, and she goes, yeah, construction equipment. I'm like, yeah, that's when you say heavy machinery, I think like a backhoe or an excavator. She's like, yeah, they mean cars. And they should just say that. Like, if you take this, don't drive. But I feel like people take a lot of stuff and they get it behind the wheel. And then if they're not taking stuff, they're just staring at their phones because it's become so enabling to do it. And we're so addicted to it, it's hard not to stare at it. But that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to respect the drive. Enjoy the videos this summer. I am trying to crank out as much as possible with as much variety as possible, whether they're brand new cars that you're looking for some relatively decent consumer advice on from an enthusiast, or you're looking to see what the hell it's like to drive a 1968 Mercury Cougar XR7 GTE CE with a 428 under the hood and a 4-speed with a Hurst shifter, because we do that too, or I do that too. I don't know why I say we. It's just me. It's not just me in terms of all the people that collaborate to make the drives happen, but it is just me with the camera and the editing and the posting. Yeah, there's no one else on the team in that regard. But anyway, I digress. Thank you. I will see you or talk to you in the next one.